Hello everyone, welcome to another drawing tutorial. Do you have this problem when you're drawing? So as you draw, you keep drawing bigger and then you run out of space on your page. So whatever you're drawing, a portion of it is on the page, but a portion of it is actually outside of the page. Or maybe you happen to draw something too small and you're left with too much white space on the page. So today I'm going to teach you some techniques on how you can size whatever you're drawing properly on your page so that you can make full use of the space that you have. This is a tutorial where you can practice along with me, and to do so you just have to find some of the reference photos that I'll be using today from the link in the video description below. These photos, by the way, are all the photos that I have used for the various time-lapse videos and full-length tutorials that I have created on my YouTube channel. It's best if you can use these techniques on location, because when you work with reference photos, the composition has already been decided and all the elements are already in the frame. So when you look at a photo like this, it would suggest to you that maybe you should copy what you see here. But when you're out on location, there is no frame. You have to frame the scene yourself. So sketching really is like problem solving. How should you frame the scene? How should you place the elements? How big should you draw the elements? Those are things that you will learn in this tutorial. So let's take a look at this scene. This is a cityscape scene. It's a white scene. So take, for example, let's say you have a panorama sketchbook. I use this technique for all my sketches, and the technique is to draw the biggest element first, or to draw the longest line first. When you can fit the biggest element on your page, all the other elements which are smaller compared to the biggest element, they will be able to fit onto the page. So in this case here, the biggest element is actually the building. Now if it's a very complicated scene with a lot of elements, you can start out by drafting with your pencil first, but here I'm going straight with ink. So this is the tallest building in the scene, the biggest element in the scene. So once I can fit this, I can continue to draw the other elements. So this second tallest building is a portion of the height of the first building. I'm just going to draw the general shape of the building. So we have some buildings to the right side. They are becoming smaller, shorter and shorter. And we can have some people in the foreground as well. So can you see what I have done here? So I've drawn the biggest element, and all these shorter buildings, they are able to fit onto the page very easily. Now if you draw this building too big, then by proportion everything else will be drawn big and you may run out of space. So that's the thing with drawing bigger and bigger as you go, you may run out of space. So getting the first element that you draw on the page at the correct size, that's very important. And now let's say you have one of those portrait sketchbooks that open up into somewhat of a squarish shape. Once again, I'm going to draw the tallest building first. And also I want to see what's the ratio of the building, the height versus the width. So the width seems to be 1 unit. And the height seems to be 2 times the width, so I want to get that proportion right. So this is the tall building. You can add the details later on. And you see, once I am able to fit this onto the page, I will be able to fit the shorter building onto the page with no problem at all. So it's that this technique is not very difficult. And now let's draw this person who is riding the bicycle. Once again, I'm going to use the same technique, draw the longest line first. Now in this case here, I also need to measure the width of the bicycle and compare it to the height of the bicycle with the person on it. And the width of the bicycle, it's 1 unit. the height is more than the width. So I'm going to start by imagining where the left bicycle wheel is. It's around here. The bicycle wheel on the right side is here, and the top of the shoulder, it's around here. I have this imaginary triangle here on the page in my mind. So the top of the shoulder comes here, and the midpoint is here. This is the t-shirt, and this is the legs, and this is the wheel here. We have this frame here, and this is the other wheel. So now we have this, the shoulder is here, we have the head here, we have the neck here, the hand, the other hand. Now this hand, it's lower compared to this hand here, and we have the basket here. For this sketch, there is going to be some white space at the top and at the bottom because the ratio of the width and height of this page is different compared to the width and height of this subject. Alright, let's say you have a landscape sketchbook now and you want to draw this subject on the landscape sketchbook. What would happen? Regardless of how I place the bicycle rider, there is going to be a lot of white space on the left or on the right side because this is a landscape format and the bicycle rider is sort of like a portrait aspect ratio. So in this case here, I'm still going to imagine the left and right edges that are represented by the wheels, and the shoulder will be here. The midpoint is very important, so the midpoint is here. And the legs again, the bicycle frame, the wheels. So sometimes when I am drawing, I actually place my finger on the page to remind me that those are the left and right boundaries for the element that I'm drawing, for the subject that I'm drawing. So here we have the bicycle rider again. So this time I have placed the rider on the right side, so we have a lot of white space here on the left. So in this case here, this is not the proper use of space, so you may want to rethink your composition before you start drawing. For a wide format like this, it can be good to add background to give this sketch more context. So here is actually a bridge, and I can just draw the bridge. I can also draw some vehicles to give you an idea that how big this person is. Everything is in perspective, by the way. So now we have the background, and we have the bicycle rider, and now you have more information on the page, and this is using the space more properly. And now let's draw this tank. Let's say you want to draw it on a wide format sketchbook. The longest element is the turret. So the left side of the turret will start here, the midpoint will be here. So we need to draw the turret first. And this turret, I would say it's 1 unit, and the right side of the tank, it's about 1 unit as well. So once we can fit the turret onto the page, fitting the rest of the tank, it's no problem. Of course, you have to make sure that you draw this turret above the midpoint of this page, because if you draw it too low, then you may not have space to draw the bottom of the tank. So this is the tank. And you can draw the background as well. There are some trees in the background. For this market scene, once again, I want to draw the biggest element, the longest line first. And in this case, I want to make sure that I fit this seller who is wearing a hat. I want to fit that seller onto the page. So the midpoint of the seller is somewhere here. That's the bottom of the shirt that she's wearing, and that's her legs. We have the hand here. She's holding this tray. All right, so once I'm able to fit this seller onto the page, I can just fill in the other elements, and I know for sure that I will not run out of space. And for this particular scene, you can actually just keep adding details to the left and right side of the person standing here, and you will be able to add all the details in because you have already fitted the largest element onto the page. So let's say there are a lot of trays here, and we have some perspective lines going on. We have another person standing here, and more trays, more stores in this market. Some boxes here. And now let's draw this very wide building. So I want to be able to fit the height of the building onto the page. I want to make sure to get the flag at the top and the motorbike riders at the bottom. So let's see where the midpoint is. The midpoint somewhere around here. The flag will be around here. So the bottom of the building will be around here. So in this case here, I will draw what I need to fit onto the page first. I will draw the part in the middle first. You can actually use pencil to draft out the lines first. I'm going to use thin lines here to simulate the pencil lines. So this is the top of the building here, and this is the flag. And this building, it's in perspective. The line here is actually almost horizontal. I mean the line at the bottom of the building, because this building is in perspective. So we have this side here. Now this part here is shorter compared to this part here. So we need to get the relation of the proportion right. And this part here, it's way shorter because this building is in perspective. So the direction is going down this way. So when you're drawing, think about, imagine how the scene will look like in your head first before you draw. Or just start with a pencil, just to be, if you want to be more accurate. So now I can fit all the motorbike riders on the road, even the car. Oops, my car is not drawn very well. But this is pretty much it. So in this case here, I drew the most important element first, the thing that I want onto the page first, by finding the midpoint and finding the top and finding the bottom. And now let's draw this viaduct. By the way, I have a full tutorial on this viaduct. I'll put the link in the video description below. Alright, in order to fit this viaduct onto this landscape format page, I will need to draw the biggest element first. So what's taller than the viaduct is actually the tree that is in front of the viaduct. So if I manage to get the tallest tree in front of the viaduct, I will be able to fit the viaduct, which is shorter behind the tree. So I'm going to draw this tree here in front. The bottom of the tree will end here, not at the bottom, because I need some foreground element. And we have another tree here, which is much closer to us. For this particular tree, the frame can actually crop the tree off at the bottom. So we have this nice foreground, background thing going on. So we have now two trees. And I also want to draw the tree on the left side. Now this tree on the left side, let's say this is 1 unit. This will be 1.5 unit away. So this tree will be 1.5 unit away. And this tree ends, the bottom of the tree aligns with the bottom of this tree here. Now for drawing something so complicated with a lot of strange and challenging perspective, I will go with a pencil first. And we have the vanishing point, which is around here, so I can draw the vanishing point. And now that I have the trees on the page, I can draw the viaduct that is between the trees and behind the trees. So we have the stands for the viaduct. We have this viaduct here, one here, another one here, and one here, and the top of the viaduct will be here. We have some railings here, and now you can just go in and add details to the viaduct. So this is how I would approach this particular scene. I definitely highly recommend using a pencil first because this is very challenging. All the sketches that I've drawn so far are just thumbnail sketches without much details, so you don't have to waste time drawing those details. You just have to draw the big shapes to practice composition and getting your proportion right and getting the size right. So this last example that I'm going to show you, same thing, same technique. Now this is a building in perspective, and the left side of the building is foreshortened. So we see the width there, it's very small compared to the front of the building, which is very big. And in this case, the longest line is the line on the ground, or you can use the height of the building as well. Yeah, so let's use the height of the building. Now, before I draw this, I'm going to imagine the width of the building in relation to the height of the building. So if I draw the height this big, this tall, sorry, then the width will be proportionally much longer, and in this case it will go out of the page. So I need to make sure that the height is smaller so that the width is smaller. I need to get this proportion right. So in this case I have this L shape. There is a car in front, so I'm going to leave some space for the car in front. And the perspective is coming down like this, goes up, comes down, and we have this semicircle thing, and goes down again like this. This is the steps. We have the semicircle thing here again. I'm not sure what that is called. Anyway, I have a full tutorial on this subject as well. So let's see what we have here. Let's draw the car. Okay, the wheels, another wheel here, the back of the car, another wheel there. And we can draw the side of the building here. It comes down at an almost 45-degree angle. This width here, it's about the width of this part here. So make sure not to draw it too big. There's a signboard here. Some people here. The people are smaller compared to the car. So you need to draw them at the correct size when compared to the car. Because those people are actually further in the background, they are smaller. And we have this tree here. The top of the tree matches the top of this part here, and we have this black roof. And yeah, so this is pretty much the sketch. So the most important thing here is actually to get the height, this height right, so that you can get the width right. And we can draw the people on the streets. And we have a building here in the background, also in perspective. So we don't have to draw too much details just to practice this technique. Alright, to recap the techniques, draw the biggest element or draw the longest line first. It's important to get the size of the first subject you have on the page right at the start. If you draw something too big, everything else later will be drawn bigger. So for example, if you draw the height of this building too big, you have to draw the width wider as well, and you will run out of space when it comes to drawing other buildings. Next is to find the midpoint of the subject that you're drawing, the top and the bottom, the left and the right, and keep that in mind when you're drawing to fit everything onto the page. If you're not confident, you can always go with pencil first. After you become more experienced, you will be able to size whatever you're drawing properly on the page intuitively. And yeah, I do recommend you practice this on location. If you want to work with reference photo, you can try and take those reference photos yourself. I would suggest taking a photo that shows as much as possible so that you can work out the composition by framing the scene yourself. If you take a photo that is zoomed in, there's not much you can do about the composition. But if you have a photo that is zoomed out where you can see a lot of details, where you can see a wide scene, you can choose the composition yourself. You can focus here, for example, or you can focus here, or you can focus on the whole scene. At least you still can make some decision on which composition is the best. Let me know in the comment section below if you have problems with drawing too big or too small, with running out of space, and if you find this video helpful. Alright, thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye!